everybody.
Hi.
What?
Hola, hola, hola.
I guess we'll probably not spend as much time on intros, but if folks want to do any intros while we're just letting people join here at the beginning, I think feel free. I'm John. Been helping organize these community calls for a little bit, and I work at Level K, and we're doing some dev work with the DXdao.
Is this anyone's first meeting? All right. Seems like we're all veterans here.
All the old timers. Did everybody see the agenda on the peer pad? Just saying.
Yeah, I'm having trouble seeing the agenda. Like, PeerPad is showing the agenda of the last week. It's weird. So, yeah.
Yeah, John, is the agenda those 3 points?
No, I feel that something is, it's maybe not updating or not saving. I can see it on my machine. I wonder if it's something to do with your cache.
Okay. Yeah, I'm getting the previous week's view as well. See what's up.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure.
See it on your screen. Quick fix.
Yeah, let me just share this.
Yeah, good old decentralized tech.
Can you all see this?
Yep.
Yes.
You see only PeerPad.
Cool. Yeah. I don't know why some people aren't seeing this. Not sure. We'll have to figure out the best. PeerPad's kind of interesting. It's useful, but I don't quite understand how it works. All right. Should we get started?
Yep.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So first thing on the list here is the Omen launch. And then we'll go, I'll share this again later, but I'm just going to switch back to the screen now to talk about this. We'll do Omen, then Penvala, and then the snapshot monitoring tool. And we can recap mesa.eth. And then there's some other announcements. So for the Omen launch, I think we're getting pretty close. And Geronimo, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yep. So we had a prototype meeting. So the team from Argentina who developed this project with a grant by Gnosis, and we kind of slowly taking over the project. They are fine with being there for us and like being in the supportive position to, if we have questions about how the code base works, they're gonna chime in. They will at at least one important feature, which is our own TCR into the project. Launch Omen with our own token list, which is currently discussed on DAO Talk. So if you guys have ideas about interesting tokens which may be important for prediction markets, let's discuss on DAO Talk. And we should probably we should move ahead with creating the list, the Omen list on the token registry, and then add a bunch of tokens we currently discussing on DAO Talk. So that's the thing. Yeah, and it's like my guess is the launch will definitely happen in 1-2 weeks. And one good thing we need to do is actually thinking about what kind of good markets we could create. So that is something everyone should think about, just like, especially as this product is launched, having cool markets ready on the front end side of things would be useful for us to just like use the momentum and have interesting markets ready where people could start betting on stuff. Crypto doesn't matter what, like even COVID could be interesting. So I think using the DXdao here to leverage all those great member ideas is important for us, just like to learn to work together and like crowdsource ideas. So that's probably the most important thing we as a collective could do in the coming days, to really think about markets and even have like a Google spreadsheet list with all those ideas. And then we can all like think what should be a priority, what markets should we incentivize.
Hey, I got a question for you guys. For the people that are not in the U.S., I know that I think that if you go on site, which is Gnosis' like controlled version of these prediction markets, if you could see what the top most common, most used markets are, that would be an easy place to start. Just replicate those, and that means anyone in the U.S. could probably participate in those too. So that's an easy starting point.
That's a great point. We are actually using the same contract, so everything what is on site is automatically on Omen.
Oh, great.
So that's great.
Well,
basically,
is it substantial on there? Because in the US, I can't. No one can look at it. So is it?
Yeah, they're restricting it on the front end access for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a few markets that people are putting money behind and stuff.
Yes. I mean, Claros is based on their proposal. They will make sure they will have a lot of markets from their side of things. And I think the DXdao could also make sure that we on our side like think about great ideas and actually fun stuff. We could also think about having DXD markets, which are about our projects, about like what will be the release date of Mix, for example. Some cool stuff which could even be useful for us, because if we like, yeah, the DAO could basically bet like for us that we actually succeed in releasing Mix on a specific date or something like that. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, in terms of forming additional markets prior to launch, I think we could discuss that in Keybase and maybe figure out a way to collaborate on kind of curating a list. I think there are some parties out there that are interested in adding some liquidity and starting some markets. So it would be great to get kind of like the crowd-sourced feedback on what would be the best ones.
Yeah, is anybody out there willing to volunteer and like just create a spreadsheet and I guess head that? If not, like I'm totally down to do it. someone the opportunity to like take the lead on something.
That would be great. And then I think
Yeah,
sharing it on Keybase would be the way to do it.
I can do that. Scott here. I'll create that and then share it on Keybase and keep track of, and we'll put a rank to some good new markets.
All
Have
right.
it
Thanks a
in
lot, Scott.
Yeah, cool.
Thanks, Guy. Awesome.
So cool. Yeah. So, I mean, hopefully this will be ready to launch next week. And then I think it probably would come the following week then in terms of like like getting the community to kind of push it out there and getting media attention and whatnot. Okay, with that, is Matteo on the call to talk about Panvala?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi. So I'm having the same problem with PeerPad. I can't add stuff, but there's a DAO talk post I made earlier this week that I can link. Some other stuff that I can link. I imagine most people have kind of heard of Panvala in the space through the Gitcoin grants. It's like a civic organization for digital commons. What they were doing in previous quarters was matching Gitcoin grants. So a certain amount of PAN tokens are released every quarter, and they were using those exclusively to match Gitcoin grants. And DXdao was actually a recipient last quarter. We had, for Mix and Omen, we were receiving Gitcoin grants. What Panvala is moving towards in subsequent quarters, starting next quarter, is these things they're calling staking clusters. So instead of doing matching to Gitcoin grants, the matching is gonna go through a particular staking cluster. And DXdao has opportunity to be one of these clusters. So my plan is to put in a proposal on Alchemy later today, and hopefully get it passed within the next week. I think the following Wednesday is the deadline for Panvala to be a matching cluster. It looks like there were 7 people who voted on the DAO Talk thing, and it's pretty much overwhelmingly to get the remaining PAN that we need to start staking. So there's a minimum amount of PAN, and when I'm using staking, it's really just holding PAN in 2 wallets. So the cost is going to be at these prices like 4 or 5 ETH to get that PAN. It seems like it's kind of a low stake venture for us that can get us good PR and help get name recognition in the community. There's a blog post posted yesterday talking about how not many people are involved in civic organizations anymore, and this is a great opportunity for our DAO to be part of a civic organization where everything isn't driven by corporate sector and quarterly earnings. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple things. So I guess to also give some like added context, Niran, the founder of Panvala, is the one hosting DAO Rush Week next week, and he's kindly let us feature on it with a couple of events and on their opening day, which I hope you guys attend on Monday. This is, very low scale commitment on our side. So I think the publicity could be worth it, and like the possibility of like extra funding coming in could be nice. And I'm just curious. I'm still not clear on like how that would be handled, the funds, how that would be transferred, and also how it could be withdrawn if we so like wanted to do so.
Mm-hmm. Good questions. And I'm not totally clear on that either. I guess that's something to discuss and figure out what's possible and what's permitted. From Panvala's side, to be a staking cluster, the tokens can't be in any type of contract other than a multi-sig. So one of the ideas I had at first, since most of the liquidity for Pan tokens is on Uniswap, was to use our staking cluster to just create liquidity on Mesa, and then that would bring people to Mesa to trade. But that would be outside the rules. So there's two contacts. There's a primary contact and a secondary contact. So we need to have two people from the DAO be contacts for Panvala, and then there's two addresses. One address that holds like 50K Pan, and another address that holds 25K Pan. So I'm actually not sure how the treasury works. I guess it's in some kind of multi-sig, but I don't know who has the keys exactly.
Hey Matthew, do you know? I'm a bit familiar with this, and I also have Pan and donated Pan and stuff. The other projects that have the two stakeholders that are backing those projects, like those, the actual individual two people are the people that stake the Pan, so they hold it themselves on behalf, and they become part of the Panvala caucus. So we may just, rather than the DAO holding the Pan, I think you just have two people that are willing to represent the cluster, and they stake the Pan. So I think that's an easier way to do it than having like the DAO's Pan or the DAO holding Pan. But you can then, the new Pan gets directed towards the DAO, even though the two people's Pan that are representing it are two separate stakeholders. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally makes sense.
That's how the other projects are currently being clustered, I think.
In that case, we have some Pan in our treasury. We have like about a fifth of the Pan necessary to stake in our treasury. The only way to get the remaining is to either pool it from our members who are also holding Pan, or get it on the open market. I've seen some proposals. People buy stuff and then they just request for recompensation. So the proposal I make could go that way. To buy it back, I'm willing to be one of the staking contacts. So we potentially need like a second staking contact.
Yeah, I think one way this could work would be to have a proposal to DXdao kind of just signaling the support of this and listing kind of maybe they would be rep holders, like the member addresses that would be kind of like designated to represent DXdao and like running these staking clusters. Because I think I agree with Ethereal. I think made the comment on the DAO Talk post that there's a lot of potential governance costs here, just in terms of bandwidth, making the decisions for the staking cluster, and even the capital costs are relatively low, right? Like a few ETH at most. In addition to that, Level K, where I work, received one of the first Panvala grants, and we hold some Pan And I think we would be willing to even like donate that to DXdao even. So I mean, the capital costs can even be lower than the few ETH that are needed. So basically, the way I could see this working is if you and others made a proposal, basically saying, this is what we want to do, designate us to control the multi-sig and do the staking cluster. And if the DAO passes that, then effectively, like, I think we could be off to the races.
I would also like to see some kind of reporting system just to keep us up to date on like what's happening with that cluster.
I think this raises two.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, just reporting system. Like in what sense do you mean?
Nothing complicated. I mean, like if any news in terms of like donations received and matched, and just to like show us like what that staking cluster is actually amounting to from like, you know, the DAO's commitment, things like that. It doesn't have to be like a weekly thing or whatever, but I guess give us a way to check in with how it's going.
Of course.
Yeah, just quickly, I think this idea is great. The project is great, and it kind of extends the way DXdao is actually developing projects. Like all our stuff is actually AGPL, so everyone can just take everything and do whatever they want with it. So like in terms of open source, we're like pretty good at that, and hopefully we will keep that. But also like I'm planning actually to like open source any designs on the DXdao, because the DXdao should own that. So everyone could even pick up any design the DXdao is like paying for and owning. So, and like, I think the partnership is great, and in my point of view, we should do it.
I think this raises interesting questions on how DXdao could potentially, you know, like enable small groups to operate with like certain budgets and stuff and move things in a faster way than the DAO stack or DXdao governance generally works. I think in general it's intentionally slow and deliberate, right? Which is important for making big decisions. But you know, what if we want to have small groups doing things in a more agile way? And then there's also the question in the chat about, you know, could we have a proposal to buy PAN from Uniswap? I mean, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think at the moment we don't have the ability to interact with Uniswap via the DXdao, but that's something that could be built. Like those kind of technical connections can be built. And yeah, we don't think we do it now.
That's if we decide not to fork it.
Sorry?
I was just saying it, kind of a joke, but if we decide not to fork it.
Right, yeah. I mean, of course, we'd interact with DXSwap and not Uniswap. But, yeah, but I mean, just the question of how do we interact with the rest of DeFi, the rest of Ethereum. These things are all possible, but just require some technical setup in terms of these like plugins on DAO Stack and these schemes to make the connections. So I mean, it's definitely something that we should discuss further and pursue and kind of set up. I think in terms of like interacting with Uniswap or other things, that touches on the question of treasury management, which I know has come up on DAO Talk. And Ingemar, you wanted to kind of, we'll bring that up a little later in this call as well.
Yeah, I think it's definitely time that maybe within the next week or so we kind of zero in on like maybe the top 3 most agreed upon treasury management strategies. Like I love Ethereum just as much as anyone else, but we kind of have our whole treasury in one basket, and I think like anyone would say that like diversifying is always a good thing. So we've got a lot of good suggestions in the DAO Talk thread. I think it would be interesting to have like some kind of vote on like what are the top, or some poll or something to sort of narrow that down. I'm not sure. Like I don't have the answer to this necessarily, but we have strategies from liquidating some of it into stable coins to having a balancer pool. So I mean, if anyone has like a strong suggestion on this, like feel free to voice it.
Yeah, and I don't want to necessarily go into that now, but I think this topic of treasury management definitely needs to be discussed further and focused on soon. Did anybody have questions on the Penbala staking pool, or Matteo, did you want to close with anything?
Yeah, like just a quickly technical question. Why can't a contract be a cluster?
Well, it's nothing technical. It's just I don't know, political. It's just the rules of Panbala. I asked Niran, and he said only multi-sigs were the only contracts that were permitted. I suppose the answer is that someone could set up like a casino game or like do something to exploit it, because as a staking cluster, we're competing with the other staking clusters to bring in pan. So we have this amount that's in our staking cluster, and every quarter the additional pan that we bring in, whether it be through donations or through some other kind of means, that is the amount that that is matched with the quarterly amount that's minted. And so there's a threshold. As long as we stay within the limits of our cluster, then we get double matched. But once we go over, then the matching stops being double matching. So it's gonna look, what they're gonna do is any given quarter look at the total amount being staked by staking clusters and take our staking cluster as a percentage of the total amount that's staked, and then set that as the threshold for the amount of donations that we can take in and be double staked. Otherwise, it's possible to just use our treasury and buy lots of pan, because we know we'll get double matched at a big multiplier. So that's the reason why that I don't think they're allowing contracts to hold it.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Matteo, and we can carry this discussion on in Keybase and DAO Talk, and I would look forward to some kind of proposal around this myself. The next thing on the list, on the agenda, is this DXdao snapshot monitoring tool. I'll post the link in DAO Talk. Augusto, are you here to talk about that?
Yep. Well, I think it was like a week ago. Yeah, when we after we realized that we had like a considerable amount of funds now in our power, in the DXdao power under the avatar address. We realized that we were only seeing the active proposals, and the only way for us to check what was going on was through Alchemy, which is fine. It's working. Is working great. But we also we thought that we also need another source of truth, about to check the information that we are receiving from Alchemy, like making sure that we are not going to have any any hidden proposals or like mint of reputation going on, and that we weren't going to be able to know about it. So I brought those two scripts to get all the transactions history from the DXdao related contracts, the transaction history and events. So those scripts populates a file where you're going to get the entire DXdao history, which is pretty long, and is going to check through everything that happens and going to see which schemes are active, what are the permissions of each scheme, and how many active proposals are on each scheme. So with that, you can cross-check with what you have on Alchemy, and you can verify that there is no any other proposal going on, and you can even simulate the generic. There are some schemes that can execute static calls. For example, the one that happened when we set the content hash to Mesa, it failed because we were into some troubles on the way. But right now we have the tools to check what is going to be the, how can we say, the output, right? Like the success of each static call that is going to happen on each of these schemes. So I invite all the developers here to go into the DAO post that John shared, and you can check the scripts. There are already a few issues. You can run it yourself. We are internally running the scripts every day, so at least a few times, and checking that everything works and that we are seeing the right information from Alchemy. So yeah, that's it. It's just another safety measure to make sure nothing's happened on that we cannot see it. So yeah. Any questions? Good, we can move in.
Yeah, and I would encourage anybody who's interested and willing to take a look at this and even run it themselves and check things out themselves. It's pretty cool to have this capability and redundancy outside of Alchemy, and I think it adds security to the DXdao. So next thing on the list is the Mesa.eth recap. Post that link here for the DAO Talk postmortem. So I'll try to give an overview of the background here. Excuse me. So it starts kind of with ENS. ENS had an upgrade due to some bug that was found a while ago. So there are essentially two ENS systems. There's the old one and the new one. Mesa.eth is owned by the DXdao under the new ENS system. However, the DXdao only had a connection via a DAOstack plugin to the old one. So that's why somebody made a proposal to actually migrate Mesa to the old resolver. However, when that proposal passed, it actually brought Mesa.eth down because the old system had not been set up with Mesa. And so some people thought that it was because the content hash wasn't set. So another proposal was made to set the content hash. There was a push made to get people to vote on it, which was a great success story. The absolute majority was reached in like less than a day, which was pretty awesome, just for the DXdao to demonstrate that that's possible. However, this also failed because the old registry did not have the DXdao as the owner. So that didn't bring Mesa.eth back online. This post-mortem post kind of covers everything, and within a couple of days, I think by Friday evening US time, the resolver should be set. There's a proposal to set the resolver back to the new system, and I think that should bring everything, knock on wood, back up online for Mesa.eth. And yeah, this post kind of details some of that. Hopefully that recapped it. And if anybody else has thoughts or correct me on something I got wrong, feel free to add for that?
Yeah, the good story is that once we actually move to the whole new ENS contracts, then we will hopefully never be bothered with those types of issues anymore, because all the ENS domains which the DAO currently holds will be using everything up to date, and we will hopefully not bother with any resolver anymore soon. And I think that is also like a huge signal for us to actually start thinking about governance processes. No one should just create proposals without actually informing the collective beforehand, and let anyone who sees issues in changing the on-chain system of the DXdao having a voice and actually trying to protect the system, which wasn't possible here because someone just created a proposal and didn't actually create it. The DAO took that even afterwards. So I think having governance processes here is very crucial for us in general, how we going to manage our own systems, but also the systems we're actually going to be owning, like the protocols. So I think Ethereal is the one who's signaling on DAO Talk that our primary goal should be to learn to govern protocols. And I think the first protocol we should govern correctly is our own protocol, which which is our heart. So we need to learn from this, and we need to start thinking about very strong processes to protect from failures.
I mean, there's a maker governance call right after this one at noon Eastern time, and in terms of just governance processes to kind of mimic, I mean, I think that they do and again, it gives me no pleasure in saying this, right? But they do a really good job of staying super organized, having multiple sets of eyes vet proposals at different levels. Everything starts off with a forum post, and then it moves to a poll, which is kind of a non-binding token governance vote, and then when shit gets real, the actual governance token is staked. But throughout that process, there's multiple levels of review, and there's just there's so many eyes on all of these things as they're moving along, and basically finding a way to limit the number of proposals but increase the number of forum posts, as I think a really interesting way to kind of go. Because you when it actually matters is when you actually have to touch your coins, that's when it actually matters, and yeah, little mistakes can just be magnified, right? But if it's in a forum post, right? And then there's a poll in the forum post that's not, that doesn't touch tokens, right? And that's just kind of to gauge sentiment, so. And this process seems to work really well, right? They're managing, I mean, I don't know how much ETH is in there, but it's a couple $100 million, right? And adding new collateral types, and they're getting more participation from governance because it's clear how people can participate. And there was also something really interesting. I don't know the name of it, but I'll find out, and I'll put it in the Keybase chat. But they found some service provider that is kind of using, I don't know, some analytics to gauge
SourceCred.
SourceCred, is that what? Yeah.
SourceCred.
Yeah, and that could,
and they're paying them.
Yeah, and getting people to, paying people to just do the rote kind of guts of governance could be another interesting way, but I don't know. But staying super organized, I think, is super, super important.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Also, Maker started with this governance facilitator role, and I'm 100% sure that we need someone, or like even a smaller group who's managing governance and like taking care of processes, documentation, even also the cool thing is we actually govern like an on-chain system, so we can actually create tools which hopefully even like make it much easier to not like just have forum stuff. We could use 3box for signaling with like true membership addresses and stuff like that. So I think we can even like go further than that, but we need people which like I would even say are not the devs. Like we're busy with our product, so someone else needs to take the responsibility and like thinking about how we need to do governance here.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see how we can make this more robust, like, and add, you know, more layers of review and get more people in the loop.
Maybe we could try to poach some MakerDAO governance nerds to kind of you know, do some like consulting, I guess. But I don't know. But yeah, I mean, like generally, just like the framework though of like you know, like really making sure that there's like buy-in behind anything that like happens on chain. I think it's like just another just like super easy thing that we can implement now that will kind of you know, obviously give the guys who are, I guess, are building products behind DXdao a bit of a break, and also managing the DAO, which is like another thing. Because a lot of DAOs, like I think I said this to Thomas, but a lot of DAOs, like from what I've noticed, outside of MakerDAO at least, like they kind of spread themselves too thin. Like they're trying to do like too much. Like, you know, they're like a DAO just to like, you know, for DAO's sake, I guess, you know, and it's like really hard to like do like even just like one thing like really well. So like this is just a nice lesson to kind of, yeah, exactly. Like DAO theater is 100% right. Like there's one person in charge, and you know, like watching what's going on with Aragon, right? Like, you know, there's basically just like two kids in charge, and you know, they say one thing and then they do another. And I feel like everybody in this chat feels very strongly about you know, saying what you do and doing what you say kind of thing. That's kind of, I think, why we're all here. So figuring out a way to like get complete buy-in on like organization and how we, you know, move forward, right? Like how we like accomplish things, I think is super, super.
Cheers, Chris.
Yeah, and one of the things we're missing too is kind of like a good polling system or something. You know, I mean, maybe that is something we could look at borrowing from what MakerDAO does. Or I think even recently, I don't know if they're on the call, but the Abridged guys, I don't know if people are familiar with their work, but they were recently added to Keybase. So I'd be curious to kind of get their thoughts on kind of polling and like it's kind of intermediate signaling between the forum and on-chain.
Yeah, John, I brought Duncan into the biz dev chat, and hopefully we can start figuring that out. We'll do that as part of. We'll come up with a proposal and show it to the greater group. But they do a bunch of things with like bots in regular social channels. So it's mainly I've seen it on Telegram and Discord. So I don't know about on Keybase, but like you can just post a proposal, and everyone like in one button on Telegram can say, I back that or I don't back that. And so like from the group really easily, you can get a signal without actual money or anything behind it, and like get a quick signal, like significant signal from a large group of the people very easily. It's the easiest thing I've seen. And then you have to then do it something on chain, but bots are the answer basically.
Yeah, that's awesome. Maybe we can make that a topic in one of these upcoming calls and maybe even get those guys in here. Or if we can poach somebody from Maker, maybe do that as well. I'd love to see more process.
Yeah, but this is like a huge signal to anyone, any member, anyone who doesn't even have anything like DXdao or rep to take the responsibility and like spend time in figuring out, like checking out MakerDAO governance calls. So yeah, anyone who would like to do it, even with a team, would be strongly appreciated right now. Like specifically right now, like we need that right now already, to having people having time to think about governance.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. I'm going to try to move down the list here. Just wanted to give a chance for, I think there's a couple meetings happening weekly now, the BizDev, or I'm not sure if they're going to be weekly, but Ingemar, did you want to queue up the BizDev meeting for tomorrow? And there's also going to be a developers call next Tuesday as well.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone has anything that they would like to discuss for tomorrow's business development meeting that they would want just like put to the front of the queue, just hit me up.
And there's a DAO Talk post right already for that, Ingemar. And then Augusto, I think we're planning a developer call for Tuesday. Did you have any thoughts or want to say anything about that?
Yeah, no, nothing. I'm going to write a topic on DAO Talk, and we are going to share the link there. It's going to be a bit different to the way that this is organized. Like we are going to have an agenda already fixed, and if you want to submit any new topic or present or talk about anything developer related, you should join 15 minutes before the call, and we will discuss it, how to add it to the agenda.
Awesome. And then, okay, just want to go through some other events, announcements, and there's a couple of items that were added to them maybe we can get to. Had a great write-up this week in Bankless. I think Ingemar wrote that. Nice work there. It outlined Mesa, how to use Mesa and Gnosis Protocol. Another thing that happened this week is that there was an auto-redeem tool written by Ethereal to release tokens that were still locked up in the lock token for reputation contract back from a year ago when there was the initial staking period. I think he ran that, and it's actually cleaned out. All the tokens been returned to their owners, and so that was really awesome of him to step up, or her. I actually don't know who Ethereal is, but yeah. Any other announcements, Corey? I think from DMM is on the call. Did you want to say anything about DMM? DMM. Is there any updates?
Yeah,
there?
sure. So we're looking to start our private sale very shortly. It'll probably start either later today or tomorrow, depending on just wrapping up a couple of minor documents. And the more pressing part for the DXdao is when we starting the public sale portion of it on June 10th. It should be a Wednesday in the middle of the week. And that's going to be going off on Mesa, as well as we're using the Loopring protocol or for the internal portion on our own site. So it'll start off in 2 venues. And then afterwards, when we're looking to set up a strategy around secondary market trading using Mesa, of course. So what's great with that, of course, is that you guys have an allocation of DMG that we're giving you guys, just to recap that, as well as this will play into the trading volume that you're looking to accrue on Mesa for the grant that Gnosis is offering. So really excited to work with you guys on this. What I'll probably do is have Zach Rines, who's working on marketing/business development, reach out so we can write a good article about it to see how we can get the DXdao more behind it and either pushing the sale or talking about how they're getting involved with it. And the team over at Mesa is going to probably do something as well, but we're looking to see how we can not have them cross over as much and more so talk about their respective roles in it, talking about the sale and the novelty of doing an initial DEX offering and things of that nature. So that's pretty much everything from me. Who should I follow up with about the article that we should post out and more of the marketing side of things for that?
I think there'd be something to bring up in the BizDev channel in Keybase. I don't know if you've joined that one.
I don't think I have.
And Ingemar is kind of leading up the community call around BizDev.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
he's a good person to talk about.
The pound, I think that's the group.
Okay. I'm gonna shoot a message over
Also
there.
back to Omen. I'm working on. Okay, I'll DM you. Bring on a kind of a sneak preview sort of piece on it. So if anyone would like to look at it and offer comments, go to the Pound Omen channel in Keybase. It's right there.
Awesome. Somebody added a couple of items onto the. Maybe we can touch on those. I don't know if somebody wants to speak up about. These are a couple of things that we could maybe clarify. People have raised concerns about the white paper from the original staking period, essentially outdated, and also market cap confusion. Anybody?
Yeah, I plan to submit a proposal with an update to the website, having a tokenomics page of just answering questions people ask. What is the bonding curve? Where are the secondary markets? What's the supply? What's the market cap? If those can be answered, that'll kind of clear up some. And hopefully we'll get up Ethereal's infographic on there as well. I think that would be really helpful.
Yeah, that's super awesome. Does anybody know what the market cap confusion was, or? Yeah, maybe around the pre-mint and what's vested and what's held by the DXdao, maybe what the circulating supply is. I can cover that real quickly here, just for the call. There was 100,000 DXD pre-mint that was sent to a vesting contract. The vesting contract vests continuously over 3 years, and so it's held separately from the treasury in this vesting contract. But as it vests, that DXD becomes available to be sent to the DXdao. Now there's a release function on that vesting contract that is open to the public. Anybody can call it, and that when they do, whatever token that has been vested that has not yet been sent to the DXdao will then get sent. So the two balances basically to look at are the vesting token address, which currently holds the largest amount of DXD. It's like 99 something thousand, and then the DXdao itself, which kind of gets the DXD from that vesting contract. So I think right now those two balances should add up to 100,000 because the DXdao has not spent any of its DXD or done anything with it. But yeah, there's a lot of flexibility here. I think the DXdao could choose to do a bunch of things with its DXD. I think it could burn it. It could use it as incentives to pay people. It could distribute it to rep holders. Yeah, I mean, it could sell it to other investors. I think there's a bunch of possibilities there. But from what I've seen, the feedback and the voices in the community so far have indicated that basically it shouldn't be touched for the time being. Not until we demonstrate kind of further what we're about and getting revenue into that curve. Cool. Any other announcements or things that people would like to bring up? We have a few minutes left. Yeah, in the chat, there's some discussion about removing/replacing the word dividend in DXdao documents, talking about the 10% redirection of profit into token burning, as it doesn't give passive income. The term is misleading. Yeah, the tokens themselves do not receive dividends. So I can see how there's some confusion there. It's more this continuous token model. Dividends get sent into the reserve, which kind of backs the token. So yeah, there could be some, maybe we can vet that. I think there are some people actually working on this, kind of improving the language and trying to clarify some of this.
I'll post the draft of the tokenomics FAQ and see if we can get more comments on it.
That'd be good. Nice. Okay. Anything else people want to bring up? I guess another piece of news this week is DXD is now listed on Loopring. It's pretty cool.
And IDEX.
Oh, it's IDEX now as well. Huh?
Yeah, I just saw it. And CoinMarketCap too. I don't know if you guys saw it.
Craziness.
Yeah, crazy. Wild. So crazy how I mean you agree that's
How
kind of
like
weird,
because
right? Like no one did like there's no one in charge here, but like all of a sudden, like I don't know, it's great. Really bullish.
Yeah. I was amazed that there was a secondary market on Uniswap so quickly after the bonding curve was launched, and then
and then very quickly Bamboo, then Loopring, and then I think this all happened in the same week, right? Like that's wild.
yeah, things are moving really fast.
It's a decentralized
DX
world.
has become main assets on Loopring. It's like the most popular
So
one.
funny.
It's quite crazy.
Crazy. That's crazy. Like all this week too, right? Like I'm not imagining that, right? Like this all just happened organically in between the last meeting that we had and this meeting, right?
Yeah, I think last meeting the only secondary markets were Uniswap and Mesa.
Yeah, I don't know what will happen when Omen is launched. So let's see how that will play out.
Yeah, this is gonna be. I think it's gonna be really interesting. I'm excited to actually use Omen. I'm sure a lot of people are too. Sorry.
Yeah, if you have
The timing on that is like
sorry, Ingmar. If you have like market ideas, shoot on DAO Talk.
You can create markets for when listings will happen on certain exchanges.
Oh yeah, I'm making this spreadsheet and then I'll put it in the Omen chat, and you can add your market ideas to that one.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, that would be such a funny market, right? Like it's essentially a bounty on someone getting the listing, right? Like it's a very clever way to do it. It's a really good idea.
Yeah, bounties can essentially be funded by anybody, like by buying the no side, or like waiting into the no side. That anybody who can actually make it happen can buy the opposite side of that, actually do it, and then take the winnings from the market.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, cool. On that note, we're about at the hour, so I guess we can wrap up here. And thanks everybody for joining.
Thanks, guys.
all right. Thanks for
Bye.
take care.
Guys, yeah.
Adios.
Thanks.
Stop.